There's fresh heat for the flying kangaroo. Qantas has announced it will extend the deadline for claiming COVID flight credits. It comes as the consumer watchdog launches legal action after hundreds of complaints the airline allegedly advertised flights it had already cancelled. And as we've heard this morning, the Prime Minister is under pressure to review the decision to block Qatar Airways from adding extra flights into Sydney and Melbourne. Jenny, these allegations and legal problems for the national carrier Qantas about selling tickets on ghost flights are extraordinary. And now Wayne Swan, the Labor Party president, is saying that, this review into Qatar's permissions to fly into Australia should be reassessed. After everything that has come out about Qantas, does this need to happen? Do we need a reassessment of Qatar Airways in Australia?
Well, firstly, the news that the ACCC is commencing legal action against Qantas is built on some really troubling allegations that have been made by the ACCC. There's obviously a limit on what we can say about those matters now that they are before the courts. But I would reiterate this, that the government has said for our entire time in office that Qantas needs to do better in relation to its overall performance and how it delivers for its customers. That remains our view. More broadly, you're asking, I think, about the Qatar decision. This is a treaty-level agreement between two countries. It's been dealt with in the usual way, and it does require the Minister to consider the national interest. Now, there are a very broad range of factors that go into that, and I think the Minister's been clear that she took a broad view in coming to her decision. I'm really confident that Minister King is doing a very good job in her portfolio. She is also, of course, driving good long-term thinking about the future of the aviation industry. And we can expect shortly the release of the Green Paper, part of a long process she set out to examine issues like competition, as well as a range of other questions for the aviation sector.
OK, Jane, we're running out of time, but does the government need to reassess its relationship with Qantas and be more careful about Qantas lobbying efforts after this alleged anti-competitive behaviour that keeps ticket prices expensive for Australians?
Well, certainly the government needs to explain why it's made this decision, specifically about Qatar Airways, to prevent them taking on those additional 21 routes. As I said earlier, Stephen Jones, I think, belled the cat when he said that it was a deliberate decision to make sure that Qantas's profits remained. And I think that that's quite confronting. Catherine King has said that she consulted widely on this decision, and yet when you asked Claire O'Neill, Richard Marles, Brendan O'Connor, no one could actually say that they had been consulted. Is she honestly saying that she didn't consult with the Prime Minister on this one? Because he's turned it all over to her. He's the former Transport Minister, so he knows an awful lot about aviation. I find it very hard to believe that the Minister made this decision unilaterally without talking to the Prime Minister or any of those colleagues, particularly the ones that are in the National Security Committee, if this was actually a decision that was made in the national interest. Penny Wong wasn't consulted. If it's a treaty decision, Jenny, surely Penny Wong would have been consulted. She said that she wasn't. So where did this come from? Why was it made? Who is putting the pressure on to deny Qatar those additional routes, which would have brought the cost of airfares down for all Australians? That's the decision. That's the question that we need to be asking.
Well,
just quickly, Jenny.
Look, I'd reiterate the point. That this is a very standard decision, and from time to time, other countries come to us and seek increased access for airlines, and various decisions have been made over time, including decisions made under the previous government by Mr McCormack. We, of course, want to see.
And Mr McCormack said that even he consulted.
In Australia,
consulted with Anthony Albanese.
Minister King has initiated a broad policy process to examine those questions, and we know that in the meantime, the thing that will really help consumers is having the whole range of carriers that are operating into the Australian market lift the overall number of flights coming in and out of Australia. It's not one single airline or one single decision that will make the difference for consumers.
All right, Jenny and Jane Hume, thanks so much for joining us.
Except for about 40%, the cost of about 40%. Got to run,
unfortunately, Jane. We're out of time.
Would have come down had that decision been made.
Okay, thanks so much for you both. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again hopefully soon.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny.